There you go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. And if Sean, if you would mute your mic, please.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Um, yeah. I have Sean King here, Strictly Biz, with me, and we'll be hearing from him after I'm done with my presentation. So let's get started with this. I just want to welcome everybody for being here on this webinar and learning how to unlock your mindsets, and the path is the goal. So I'm really super excited about this webinar. This is my 18th webinar that I will be doing. So it's building up to a milestone of my 20th, and hopefully, there will be many more to come. So with that saying, I just uh, want to tell you that, in everything that we do in our life, it all starts with our mindset. And so my goal this evening is to help you have a better understanding of your mindsets that you have and where they came from and where they originated from. So hopefully I'll be helping you see where your mindsets come from and why you have them, also how to improve upon them. As a child growing up with our parents or a parent, we learn many things from them. They are the ones who instill in us our thought patterns and beliefs. Many of those thoughts and beliefs center around how we view ourselves, how we view other people, and also how we view money in particularly. Money is always something that is evident in our life, in our everyday lives. It is a known fact that uh, we are growing up. As we're growing up, we take on the thought pattern of one or both of our parents. And once we reach adulthood, we subconsciously apply those thoughts in our everyday lives. Depending uh, on how good or bad those thoughts are, is what determines our outcomes in life. The same goes for when we arrive in the educational system. We are taught to act a certain way, to think a certain way, and believe a certain way. So add that to what you have learned from your parents, and you have yourself quite a mix of thought processes going on. Uh, we are taught in the educational system how to read, write, mathematics, geography, history, science, physical education, and eventually how to get a job once you graduate, which goes along with the beliefs our parents taught us that we must get a job after school if we want to survive. Along with that also comes starting a family and repeat the process that they brought they brought you through, doing the same things, teaching your children the same things they taught you. So passing on those same thoughts and beliefs that were instilled in you. It is a never ending cycle, and one that has been going on for generations. There is also the need of the parents to move us towards certain careers. Parents will say things like, oh, you need to grow up and be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist or something. So that's what they're instilling in your thought processes that they think that you should do. And due to the fact that they were maybe in that career themselves their whole life, and still and it they're still working at that. They've been in it their whole life, and it worked for them, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. Now, if you wanted to follow in the footsteps of your parents, it may require you to have more schooling, which requires 4+ or more years to get that degree. Let's say let's say you decided to be a doctor, or any of the ones here. I need to share my screen with you here and show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Hang on just a second, I'll get it here. So this was the first part of my slide here. And, we're talking about, getting a job. This is what we're taught in school that we need to do once we're finished. And then, if you wanted to continue your education to get a degree, in a certain field, you'd have to go to school more, and that it requires more time. So let me find my place back here to where I was. Okay. The same, now depending on how good you do in the school, depends on how well you're going to do in the in the field that you're getting into. So you may not end up getting good grades or something. So you're gonna it's gonna be whether or not you you know pass those courses that will determine whether or not you'll be able to get a job in that field or not. And so your parents may have had a different view for you, and maybe it wasn't something that you really necessarily wanted to do. And then the other thing is, in school, they don't necessarily teach you how to be a business person, to be an entrepreneur. They don't give you the millionaire mindset, or how to deal with your money, how to actually make a business work for you. So uh, those are just things, that as we go through life, and through the things that people teach us, that they don't necessarily teach us how to be successful beyond the schooling education that we got, and beyond the 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, 40 years put into a job. They don't teach us how to be independent thinkers, how to reach goal. You may have your own dreams and goals that you want to accomplish, but they don't teach you those kind of things in school. Okay, so let's just say you decided you wanted to be a doctor, or any of the ones that were pictured there. Once you've acquired your degree and you begin your career in whatever you decided, if you were to stop for any length of time and not be doing your career, it would fail, because you wouldn't be able to take 6-week vacations, because being a doctor, it requires you to always be there. Being a dentist, it requires you to always be there. Where if you're an entrepreneur, or you have your own home-based business, then you have the ability to do pretty much whatever you want. So basically, when you're working a 9 to 5 job, you're basically tied to it like a horse to a railing. And why your parents or parent has say in their careers as long as they have. When you're in school, you're never really taught what it takes to be an entrepreneur, or much less a millionaire. We are taught by our parents and the educational system that you go to work 40 hours, work 40 years, and earn a certain amount of money. Not how to be independent, learn how to make your money work for you instead of you working for your money. That's why it's critical that we reprogram our mindsets for greater success, not just for our success, but for the success of our families, our close friends. that we get rid of the beliefs that limit us and continue to hold us back. And that can be accomplished with the right mentoring and educational reading that will teach you a new way to look at your life and your success and failures. Every part of our being is connected to our mind, our body, our spirit, and our emotions. They all work together uh, to uh, decide whether or not, we make the right choices in life. Are we headed in the right direction? Are we on the right path to where we want to go? Uh, so, I'm a person who likes to read. I read a lot. I read a lot of books. Sean reads a lot of books. He has a great library going on, and books that he studies from and teaches him things, that he wants to learn how to do better, how to live life better, and I feel the same way. So, uh, there's three books in particular that I really like, and that's The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. That's one of my favorites. The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, and The Last for the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Really, really good books. I recommend that you get those books and really start studying them and applying some of the principles that these gentlemen have in these books, because they really work. Trust me, they do. They really work. When I first got into this industry, um, and it's just been this way my whole life, I always wanted to help people, you know. And in the beginning, when I got into this industry, I thought by helping people meant getting them signed up into my business, you know, that was going to change their life. But then, all of a sudden, as I was going along, I started realizing that it wasn't so much getting people signed up into a business that was going to change their life. It was changing their mindsets. It was like a light bulb went off in my head that said, if you really want to help people, then help them to change their mindset. Help them to see things in a different way in order to improve their life, their personal private lives that they have, or even their business lives. So I got pretty excited over that concept of changing up the way that I do things and changing my viewpoint on how I get things accomplished, simply by changing the way that I interact with people, and the way that I help people with, you know, the basic thing that everybody needs, and that's to have a different mindset, a positive mindset, and teaching them ways that they can do that to better themselves, because it all starts with us first. We have to better ourselves first before we can even go about trying to better somebody else. And this is a journey that I have been on for the longest time now in my own self-improvement. you know and it's true what they say. When you start hanging around with the right people who have positive mindsets, it rubs off on you, and you start having a different mindset. I have friends who, I will talk to them, and I will give them examples of ways that they can do things better. And for some reason or another, they always seem to come up with an excuse why that won't work. I don't care what I say to them, they have an excuse for why it won't work. They refuse to try and make things work. They refuse to try to do things differently. But if you want to be a success at anything in life, I don't care what it is, raising your children, dealing with your husband, or dealing with your wife, or dealing with your friends, even if you're a person who works a 9 to 5 job, and you hate that job, I think it would be really helpful if first you try to change your mindset about the way you view all those things. If you can change your mindset about that, things just seem to working out a whole lot better. You know, your job might become a lot more pleasant if you look at it, get a different viewpoint of it. You know, relationships with coworkers might go better if you get a different viewpoint on how to deal with them. You know, become more accepting, because everybody has different opinions and different thought processes, and they approach things differently. So if we can get to a point in our relationships with people where we learn how to deal with them differently, then I think relationships would work out a whole lot better. And so that in itself is a success. You know, let's move on to the next slide here. This part here is really interesting because uh, analysis paralysis. You know, as it says here, there's something called paralysis by analysis, which is caused by our educational system punishing people for making mistakes. A students are successful really only just for the fact that they made the least mistakes, right? However, in the real world, people who take action and succeed are the ones who make the most mistakes. And why is that? Because they learn from them. They learn from them and they use them to win the game of life. So, you know, I have a cute little, or not really little cute, but a story that I wanted to share with you, you know, talking about analysis paralysis. And it goes back to when I was, you know, a little girl in school, and I wasn't very good when I was in school. I had some pretty bad grades to bring home. And, you know, when I was a kid and in the household I was raised in, that, you know, I knew there were consequences to my bad grades. You know, if I brought home a bad report card, I was going to get my butt beat for it, you know. And so this one time, I got a report card that had some really bad grades on it. Okay. So, and I knew going home, I knew exactly what I was going to get. So it just so happened that I lived near my teacher, who didn't live far from me. And as I slowly walked home, I had to pass her house. I decided that I was going to uh, stop by her house, and because I wanted to have a talk with her. So I hung out in her front yard until she got home. And when she got there, I had tears in my eyes, and I begged her, please change the grades so I didn't get whipped when I got home. Her reply was, I'm sorry, dear, I can't do that. A grade is a grade, she said. You'll just have to try harder next time. Well, needless to say, I was stuck with that ugly report card and had to take my licks when I got home. But the lesson I learned from that was several things. Teachers back then weren't willing to try and understand why you were failing, just just that you were. They weren't willing to take part of the responsibility that maybe you were failing due to the way they were teaching you, or that there were factors at home at play here that was causing you to not do well in school. And the classmates who ridiculed you in school because you weren't doing well, they simply ridiculed you because they learned that from others. And as for my parents, what they taught me was fear of not doing well. Beatings were their way of saying this is the consequences of failing. Not let me take a step back here and try to see why you're failing. Is there anything I'm doing that is causing you to fail? You know, so when people instill fear in you for the majority of your life, you know, it causes what they call uh, paralysis analysis. It just kind of stops you dead in your tracks, and it kind of stops you from being willing to try harder, you know. So as you can see, where I hope you can see where I'm going with this. Every event in life, whether it's been good or bad, sets you up for how your life is going to be for you based on where what you have been taught by others. You know, Thomas Edison here, he had it right when he said, I did not fail 1,014 times. I successfully found out what did not work 1,014 times. So, you know, that's just a different way of looking at your failures. You know, it's not that you actually failed, you just found out what didn't work. So, so so in doing so, as has made us more successful. That some people give us credit for. I'm sorry. So some people don't give us as much credit as they need because they don't understand, you know, the things that we've had to go through. So it's a very different way of looking at things when you say, I didn't fail 1,014 times. I just found 1,014 times ways that didn't work, you know. And Robert Kiyosaki here, you know, he says many people are not successful because they fail to fail enough times. They let fear hold them back. And so, you know, I'm saying to you, you can't let the fear of trying something different or something new hold you back. You know, I've been plenty fearful in my whole life of different things simply because my parents instilled that fear into me, you know, that there were not nice consequences that come with, you know, doing things the wrong way or not doing them the right way according to the way certain people think they should be doing, you know. So don't let fear hold you back because basically fear is a lie. It's just lies inside your head telling you that you can't be successful. And that's just simply not true because you can be successful. You know, you set your mind to being successful, changing your mindset. I'm going to be successful, and you will be. You know, put it out there to the universe. You know, ask the universe to help you be successful, and you will be. You know, I can testify to that. You know, I've sent out to the universe many times different things that I wanted to see happen, like coming up with money to make things happen. You know, I put it out there and I said, I need this money to make this happen. Can you please, you know, make that possible for me? And it did. And miraculously, for whatever reason the universe saw fit to give me that money so that I could accomplish what I needed to do. So now here's where I show you uh, how your mind, where your mindsets are at. On the left side of this diagram that you see here it says employed. And employed means you exchange your time and effort for an income. You don't work, you don't get paid. So that's where about 80 to 90% of where people are at nowadays. They're in the employee mindset. Okay. Then you have on the left side of this diagram, you have the self-employed. Those are the ones who work for themselves, but can take 6-week holidays in their business, and their business keeps going without them. You know, so they're the entrepreneurial type of people, you know. So, but they're still not quite where they need to be yet. You know, they might be just they're a small business, they're a brick and mortar business, and they may just be just starting out. So they may still be having struggles with their small business. And then on the right side, you have the big businesses. These are the big businesses, you know, like Apple or Microsoft or big manufacturing businesses and those kind of things. You know, they have people who are working hard for them to generate an income for them. You know, and that's you know, a lot of the self-employed. You know, the people over here on the left-hand side, they're over here working for the people on the right-hand side, but they're making all the money and they're just making a little tiny bit, you know. So, but on the same point here I'm trying to make is that in big business side, you as an entrepreneur, you can also become, you know, the form of a big business and having people working hard, you know, or working with you to generate an income, not only for you but for them as well. And then you have the investor, and they are the people that have money working hard for them, you know, and they're out playing golf and living a good life. And an investor is somebody who has invested back into their business. It's very important that, you know, if you're in a business, that you invest back into that business so that it continues to make you money and make you more money. You know, and so now I'm going to get to the part about your mindsets. Do you have a poor mindset or do you have a rich mindset? And there's different viewpoints in that thinking. Let's see, let me catch up here in my notes. So okay, so now I ask you, where are you at? Are you on the left side or are you on the right side of that chart that I just showed you? If you're on the left side now, you may want to consider moving over to the right side, because the right side is going to end up being more profitable for you in your life and in your business. Because if you stay on the left side, you're going to be just like the generations past, doing the same thing day in and day out and never getting ahead in life enough to actually enjoy it. So now there are four kinds of people in the world of business, and you have just seen which ones they are. You know, it's the employee, it's the small business owner, it's the big business, and it's the investor. Those are the four people. So now I'm going to cover with you some of the mindsets that differ between a poor middle class mindset and a financially independent and rich mindset. On the poor side, poor middle class side, they believe life happens to them. They always think that they're victimized. You know, it's always somebody else's fault. They never take responsibility for anything. Oh, it's their fault that this happened, or the company shut down and it's their fault that I'm, you know, that I'm failing, and or that I'm losing my home or whatever. You know, they're victimized. Everything about their life is a victim mentality. On the financially independent rich side, they believe they create their own life. You know, they take responsibility for everything that happens in their life. If they see that something's coming along, they take action to prepare for that. You know, prepare for something not working out. So they create their own life. Back on the poor middle class, they play the money game not to lose, meaning that they, you know, they either hang on, they squander their money, they either hang on to their money because they're afraid that, you know, they're going to lose it. They're not willing to take that money and put it to work for them. They're not willing to make investments. You know, they'll hang on to their money as long as they possibly can. You know, for, I think Sean said this in one of his videos, people save their money up for a rainy day. Well, every day is a rainy day. So, you know, and the financially independent rich, they play the money game to win. You know, they know that taking their money and investing it is what's going to enable them to win. So on the poor middle class, yeah, you know, a lot of them, they think they want to be rich. You know, they don't necessarily want to be struggling in their life. They want to be rich. And on the financially independent side, you know, they make a commitment. They decide, yes, I'm going to be rich. They set their mindset to being rich. They don't just sit there and think, oh, I want to be rich. They say, I'm going to be rich. And back over here on the poor middle class, they think small, think of limitations, and wish and hope. You know, they conjure up all these little things that stop them from being successful in whatever it is, you know, or they just sit and wish and hope that things change. Well, sitting and wishing and hoping isn't going to change things. You have to take action, you know. The financially independent, they think big. They think possibilities. They dream a lot, you know. They 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 can see where they can create things that are going to make them successful. You know, the poor, the middle class, they focus on obstacles. You know, they see things that are going to stop them. Well, I can't do this now because I got to do this, or I can't do this now because I got to pay this. You know, and then on the rich side, they focus on opportunities. They see an opportunity and they take advantage of it. And a lot of times, the poor middle class people, they resent rich people, and they resent people that are successful. You know, they think that terrible thoughts like, oh, they must have got that because they did this, or they must have got that because they did this. You know, that's the wrong mindset. They need to be thinking, wow, that person really probably worked very hard. You know, they must have put in a lot of sweat and dedication and commitment to get to where they're at. You know, that would be the right mindset to think. You know, don't resent anybody for being successful. You know, don't be jealous because they're successful. You know, be glad for them, be happy for them because they had enough gumption and the motivation to take action and make things happen for themselves. You know, they created their own life, you know, and financially independent people, they admire other rich and successful people. They admire them. Why do they admire them? Because, you know, they're accomplished. They succeeded. They've done great things in their life, you know, and other rich people, they learn from other rich people, trust me. You know, they keep learning and learning. It doesn't matter. That's why I say hang out with people who are successful because they're going to be able to teach you a lot of things. Okay, the poor middle class associate with negative and unsuccessful people. And this is just what I was saying about hanging around with successful people. If you hang around with unsuccessful people, you're going to think just like unsuccessful people. You hang around positive, successful people, you're going to be just like them. So, you know, my parents used to tell me when I was a kid, you know, you are who you hang out with. And that's very true. You know, it's very, very true. Okay, then the poor middle class, they think negatively about selling and promoting. You know, they think everything is a scam. You know, everything's a pyramid scheme. They think that you're just out to take advantage of them or use them in some way. Independent wealthy people are willing to promote themselves and their values. You know, they're willing to put themselves out there and show people that there are better things and better ways of doing stuff. The poor, they think smaller than their problems. You know, they think smaller than their problems. You know, they can't get past those problems. Their thinking is just not big enough to make them jump over that problem and succeed over it. You know, the rich are bigger than their problems. You know, they know that they have the ability to get past whatever might be happening in their life at the moment. And then poor middle class are poor receivers. You know, if you try to give them advice or you try to suggest better ways for them, they don't have a good attitude towards that. You know, they will just shoot it down, or they'll close their ears, or they'll walk away and they'll just ignore you. You know, rich financial people are excellent receivers. You know, they're open-minded. They're willing to receive anything that comes their way, any thought, any new idea, any new process, any new product that comes along that make things work better. They're open to that. The poor middle class, they choose to get paid based on time. You know, and that comes back to that generational education that you've gotten, where you know your parents have taught you that you got to have that paycheck coming in every week. You got to have it. You know, the financial independent, they get paid based on their results. You know, and they know that they're going to get paid on their results, and that's why, you know, they're out there and they're pushing and they're moving forward and they're doing whatever it takes, because their result, their actions is based on, you know, their pay is based on the results that they're going to get based on what they've been doing. They know that. So the poor and the middle class think either or. The financially independent think both. And what that means is that, you know, if you present somebody with an opportunity, they say, well, you know, I have to quit my job first before I can do that. You know, I can't do both. I don't have time. You know, it's either I work my job or I try this out. You know, they don't say I can do both. You know, we can all find time to do things in our life. We all, you know, people will make excuses, I don't have time. But it's simply not true, because a lot of times you'll come home from work, and what do? You turn on the TV set. So rather than turning on the TV set, you could be doing something that would make you financially independent in your life and change your life and your family. So never be closed-minded and say, I have to do either or, because you can do both. Saying either or is just an excuse. Successful people think both. I can do both. You know, we got a lot of people in this industry who, you know, are still actually really working jobs, you know, but they're doing this this business on the side. So they know that they have the time for both. They make time. They create the time to do that. So it's not that you don't have the time. The poor middle class, they focus on working income for instant gratification. You know, that paycheck coming in every week is instant gratification. Yeah, I have money. Well, yeah, you have some money now until you pay all your bills. You know, and so a lot of people will think, you know, when if they get into a network marketing business, then they are simply going to not have the money coming in. You know, they're not going to have that money in their hand every week. But, you know, rich independent people, they're willing to postpone that gratification, because they know that all the hard work that they're putting into this, that in the long run, they're going to have even more income. You know, it's not just going to be a week's worth of pay. It's going to be a huge amount, you know, based on their results and how much work they put into it. So they're willing to postpone getting that great reward for their efforts, because they know in the long run that it's going to pay off. The poor middle class, they mismanage their money. They buy liabilities. And, you know, what I mean by that is they buy things that are not going to benefit them in the long run. You know, if, for an example, like you buy a car. As soon as you buy that brand new car and drive it off the parking lot, guess what? It just depreciated. So it has now become, you know, a liability. It's not an asset. You know, so rich people, they manage their money well because they buy into assets. They buy things that are going to eventually earn them more along the way. You know, it's like buying stocks, you know, or bonds. You know, investing their money that's going to earn them interest. You know, things like that. So rich people they're smart. They don't waste their money. They invest it in smart things. Poor people work hard for their money. And yeah, they do. They do work hard. You know, I can attest to that. I was a working class at one time myself, you know, and I did work hard for my money. And the work that I put into my jobs never was equal to the amount of pay I got. I always put more work into my job than the money I got, you know. But, you know, instead of working hard for your money, how about making your money work hard for you instead? You know, figure out ways to make that money go to work. You know, that's getting back to investing in things that will buy you assets and not liabilities. The poor, let fear stop them. You know, I talked on this, you know, about not letting fear stop you from doing anything. You know, but, you know, people, you know, the working class, the poor, they fear a lot of things. You know, they fear the unknown. You know, they fear not knowing what's going to happen if they invest their money in something. So, you know, definitely, I'm getting a little carried away here with my button. Sorry. So, and then the poor middle class, they already know it all, right? Have, be, do. They think they know everything there is to know. You know, the rich independently, they are constantly learning. Be, do, have. They know you gotta be, you gotta do in order to have. Okay, and that constantly learning means that you're always educating yourself. You know, you're reading books, you're watching motivational videos, you're learning from the people who have been successful already. You know, so simply put, change your life and be successful on the right side of the quadrant. You know, get off that left side of the quadrant, that employee mindset. You know, get over here on the right-hand side of the quadrant so that you can change your thinking, change your life, and better the things that you want to accomplish in your life. And take responsibility for yourself. You know, take responsibility for your successes, take responsibility for your failures. Don't be blaming situations or programs or systems or people or family members or friends for you not being successful in your life or getting the things you want. It starts with you. You have to take responsibility for it. And so, you know, I'm just, in closing here, you know, I'm going to say, you know, you're the driver of your life. So you're the one that decides how your life is going to go. So no matter how powerful something is, no one can force you to do it, okay? No one can make you change. We can give you the most powerful and luxurious car in the world, for say, but you have to learn how to drive it. You have to learn to get in the car, put the key in the ignition, and drive the distance. You know, and what that means is you need to get in there and go the distance. Go for as long as it takes you to be successful. You are the driver of your life. So commit to being a no excuses type of a person and take personal responsibility for your results in business and in life. You know I touch on this a lot about fear because fear is really a big thing with a lot of people. I meet a lot of people who have fear in them to try and change anything in their life. I have a friend who is very fearful of even walking outside of their house because they can't, you know, they fear that, you know, they're going to get hurt or they're afraid they're going to run into people that are going to say bad things to them. And she's just paralyzed, you know. So, you know, act in spite of fear. It's like walking up a flight of steps to success, except each step up is in complete darkness. It doesn't appear until you take the next step forward, before you even see that it's even there. It doesn't appear until the feeling of falling is in the pit of your stomach. The unknown, that's where the success is. You know, I can remember when I was taking public speaking class, you know, I had this fear deep inside of my stomach, you know, and as I got up in front of the class and had to speak, you know, and I started speaking, I could feel that fear just, you know, starting to subside and subside more and more in my stomach, you know. And so when that fear left my body, that's when I became successful. You know, I was successful. I stood up in front of this class and I spoke in front of people. And then, I mean, look at me now. I'm on a webinar and I'm talking to you and I'm talking like crazy here. But, you know, years ago there was a time when I would have never, ever even considered doing this. Never. Because I was full of fear. And that was based on the fear that my family had instilled in on me. And so I was fearful of so many different things. But I wanted more out of my life than living in fear all the time. So I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to let fear guide my life or tell me how my life was going to be. I wanted my life to be different. I wanted my life to be different than what my parents saw my life. I knew I could have a better life, and so I have strived through my whole life to make sure that that was different, that I changed things. I did whatever it took to make my life better. And so, trust the system and do it. Trust yourself, trust your instinct. Trust your dreams that you've created for the way you want to see your life. Trust those. And don't let the fears and the unknown hold you back from success. Seriously, keep moving forward. And so, we listen to a lot of different people out here, a lot of different people who have different opinions and different thoughts about things. We can go and listen to all kinds of stuff. So, it comes to a point where you have to decide which ones you want to listen to. Do you want to listen to an advisor, or do you want to listen to a mentor? Advisors are somebody who it's just an opinion. They haven't been through it. They haven't done that. They haven't gone through those struggles. They're just, telling you things that are based on maybe things that they heard or whatever. They're not true experts at it. But a mentor is somebody who has been there. They've done that. They've gone through it. And a mentor is someone who is willing to listen, and willing to help you, you know. So, are you willing to listen and to follow to the instructions and the help our proven mentors will be giving you? On this team, Business Mentors, we have a bunch of mentors here who have been there and done that, and we're willing to be here and help you. So if you want help, you need help, you want to continue educating your mindset and changing your mindset to improve and do better, get a hold of us, connect with us, talk to us, and let's figure out what we can do to help you and get you to a wealthy mindset. So that about wraps up my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I hope, in the future I'm going to be doing more and more webinars that will teach people how to do things better and just how to create a better life for yourself. I said this, I think, in the beginning. I said, when I first started in this industry, I thought signing people up in my business was the answer. Well, I've since learned that the answer is if I truly want to help somebody, I have to show them and teach them ways how to make themselves better first. First you learn how to crawl, then you learn how to walk, and then you learn how to run. So, I'm going about this in a different approach now. I hope that you continue to follow myself and Sean as we're growing and we're learning as well, and we're going to be willing to share with you anything that we learn, any new information we have to teach you. And so I hope you stick with us, keep following us, keep listening to us, keep joining us on these webinars, and just, get a hold of us, talk to us on one-on-one. We're available on Skype. I put the link over here in the chat box. You can contact us on there. We'll get on Skype anytime, day or night, it doesn't matter. We're willing to help you. Okay, Mike, Sean, go ahead and unmute your mic, and let's hear something from you now, okay?
Okie dokie. There's a lot of information he was given. I mean, it sounds like you wrote the book. And believe me, when we talk about books, fear is something that every single book that I've read, or every single The audio that I've listened to speaks upon 100% fear. Am I sharing my screen? No, let me or am I on air? Let me click on this here.
You're on
Yeah,
air, not sharing your screen yet.
I see. I like to listen to audios. In order for anything to happen in your life positive, you can't just get this thing here and listen to it one time and then put it down and let it collect dust. I mean, inside of it, it tells you the secrets of how to become successful, and it tells you in what order to do things in. And if you just listen to it once and put it up and let it collect dust, then you're going to be still influenced by the negative things around you. How can you possibly speak positive things into your existence when your subconscious mind is full of nothing but negative information that we grow up with in our lives that are self-programmed into each other? So in order to get that cleaned out, you got to put something in there that can make you think different. We may not know what a millionaire looks like. It can be a bum in the middle of the street. But you wouldn't know until he passed away and you heard through the grapevine he was a millionaire. Well, that's how most of us don't get to see who millionaires are. And I'm quite sure if you ran into a millionaire, you wouldn't know it anyway. And if he was teaching you or giving you something that could better your life, better your financial services, wouldn't you like to listen to him? I mean, just picture if you knew this guy right here, Napoleon Hill, personally. He's there giving you everything that he's giving you verbally, educating you positively, giving you positive information, and you're using this positive, not just let it collect dust, but you're using the information. You're waking up in the morning with a smile on your face, no attitude, nothing pushes your buttons. You're in control of your life, and when you're in control of your life, you're in control of your financial status. So check it out. Listen to this audio right here. I mean, I guess. Oh, and speaking upon another thing that Deb was talking about, let me talk about. I got the book. I got the book, guys. Guys, I got a library in here to make the library downtown look stupid. I got the book. A lot of people like to work 12 hours, 16 hours, 8 hours, and they don't know how to break it down to at least 4 hours. And the rest of the time is all yours. 9 times out of 10, the time that we do take, we're too busy, too tired because we work for someone else. And we're used to coming in front of this ridiculous boob tube back here and watching this until we fall asleep, which means we don't have time to think. We all of a sudden don't have the time to read a book or listen to an audio. Somebody's going to put something positive to make us go for what we know is going to work. I listened to one of these here CDs, and it said that seeing is believing. At least that's what we're told. Everyone wants to see before they believe, before they come in. So I'm like, well, what if I seen and I believed it already before I actually seen it in physical form? What would that be like? You know, a lot of us, we're not thinking about the future. We think about the now. We're broke. The now. Got to go to work. What for? To pay the bills. That's what's programmed into our heads. A job is a temporary thing. Don't you know it yet? How many jobs have you had in your life? Several. None of them were permanent. None of them were forever. That's the difference between a job and a business. If you've got the business mindset, all it is a mindset. You're going to do the business. You're going to work one way or another. The only difference is you're not working for somebody else. You're working for yourself, because now you're putting your money someplace where your money can work for you. That's why we invest. The Cash Flow Quadrant, I know the book well. I've got the book. I've got the audios. It makes a lot of sense to be amongst the business mindset, because you'll learn a hell of a lot more than what you would learn in the employee mindset. Let me break it down. Employee mindset, you go to work, guess what? Everybody hates the boss. The boss hates them. You can't stand this person. You can't stand that person. I hate going to work. Oh, thank God it's Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is condemned day. You know, every day is a bad day until Friday. You have to think about that. Why not enjoy every single day? And that's where the mindset change comes in. And it doesn't happen unless you listen to the now video or audio or whatever to begin to start reacting on your thought now without a doubt. No doubts. That puts fear in your words. And fear to us is false evidence appearing real. Everything that Deb is talking about are the separate sides. Look, it's my presentation right here. You see an opportunity? What side is your mind on? Is it on entrepreneur, where we figure out our problems, or is it employment? And we don't do things now. We'd rather wait. We'd rather look for excuses on how come it don't work. We can find 5 excuses on how come things don't work. But guess what? It only takes one thing. If you really take the time to think about it, it takes one thing to not work at all, period. How stupid does this person now look to have to figure out 5 things when the first one put everything into convention mode? Your mindset. You want to become a leader? Do what we do. Learn what we're learning. Come in here and do it. Put it to work. Put these tools that we got in here to work. Learn. Make your mistakes. The more you fall, the stronger you get up. You know, you got to hit your knees every once in a while so you praise your God for giving you a chance to even get this type of mindset. Here's a book that everybody should have. Hold up, here it is. This is what they should have given us. Parents. The manual. Wow.
Good one, Sean.
Yes. The manual. If anybody, look, everything on the face of this earth has a manual to tell you how things work. What's in it? What makes it up? A description. Some of it may be untrue in certain things, like what we drink or what we eat. We don't know what in the world else is in our foods. But this here is an instruction book right here. And if everyone on the face of this earth had one of these books, we'd all be in some good shape. We wouldn't have to worry about the negative thoughts in our minds. I think you might be able to find this on YouTube also. Just put in Joe Vitale, Life's Missing Instruction Manual, and you'll hopefully be able to listen to it on YouTube in your spare time. Very good book. The whole object from the difference in the mindsets, and I love it, the fact that you used the Robert T. Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, is because notice that Robert had an L. He was holding it up above his head while he was standing on the employee and self-employed side of the quadrant, because he thinks anybody who's on that side who
is a loser.
Loser. Why do you go? See, he says savers are losers, and it makes a lot of sense because we are. Because the bank takes our money and spends it on big buildings downtown, and we don't even have enough to afford a cup of coffee. Now, how does that work? So, which would you rather have? Would you have a labor employee mindset where you got to get up and go to work for the reasons of I got to pay my bills, and that's all you know? You know, when I started listening to these here, I started thinking. See, the less time you're at work and you're at home, you have time to think. You have time to ponder. You have time to read. You have time to do something. You got to make the time. You got to do something that you've never done in order to get something that you've never had. And when you finally do it, you finally realize that you've had it all along. Success is a formula, and you need a plan. You need a goal to get to that, to get the formula to actually work. But when you listen to these here audios, just listen to them over and over and over and over and over again. Because if you don't listen to this over and over again, you're going to look at this here, back here, and it's going to play reruns for your whole life of nothing but negativity being pumped into your home. This set right here, nothing but negative information. You go outside. It's showed and proved on everybody that's outside of this. It comes outside their door, everybody's programmed to have that type of negative attitude towards each other and animals and everything else. This bad boy right here. It's supposed to be for entertainment, but that's what they tell us. It's a weapon to keep us occupied somewhere else so we don't take the time to sit still long enough to start thinking and creating and making things happen. That's like every time, every once in a while, you'll see on TV one of those what do you call them? Star search. There's a star born every year. Why? Because somebody decided to do something a little bit different. They took a chance and went for it. And guess what? Now they're a star. So you're a star too. If you just decide to put your mind to it, stick with it, and picture it like your head's underneath the water and somebody's holding you underneath the water. You need air to breathe, right? You're gonna need this type of mentality in order to build this business. Because if you don't have this mentality, your business will never show any type of results.
Yeah, well, I think basically, what we're trying to say here is that, it all starts with your mindset. Changing that programming that was done in your mind as growing up as a child, you know, doing things differently is going to get you better success, not just in business, but in your life in general. Because there's a lot of unhappy people out there who are unhappy with their life, just their life in general. It has nothing to do with business. It has everything to do with their life. They're not happy with their life, and it takes a mindset change. Reprogramming those negative thoughts to positive ones. Always filling your mind full of positive things. And Sean and I both, you know, we're readers. We like to read. We like to educate ourselves about things that are going to make us, uh, that's going to change us for the better. You know, it's going to build up our brain. Sean did a video either yesterday or earlier today, and he talked about, pretty much along the lines of what we're talking about here now. Reading books, having a library, educating yourself. So I think that, you know, and one of the things I made a comment on his post for his webinar that he had was talking about the words that we use. Start using more positive words. Like things like love and peace and hope and prosperity and success and wealth. Use those kind of words and keep saying those words over and over again, to yourself. And that's what's going to help you start to, uh, you know, it's a fact known that the more you put more positive things into your brain and educate your brain, the more that frontal lobe is built up. And I posted that on Sean's post. I said, it's like making your frontal lobe on steroids. Building up that muscle in your brain, to be able to do things that other people thought were impossible, that you would never be able to accomplish. I had so much negativity growing up, and people say, you're not going to amount to anything. You're not going to be able to do anything. Well, I'm sorry. Look at me. Hello. Here I am, here today. So I count that as a success. And you have to look at things in your life, that you're doing, and count those as successes. Don't count them as failures. Count it as a success, because you have a lot of things in your life that you are very successful at. If you have a family, you're successful at raising your children. If you're married, you're successful at building up your marriage. If you have a good job, you're still working a 9 to 5, and you're doing well in that job, count that as a success. Because you've worked hard to do what you need to do to make it work. And Sean and I approach that mindset in our business as well. We don't look at things as necessarily failures. They're successes. We've gotten past what didn't work, and we're still moving forward. So, yeah. So, Jedediah, are you still with us? Did you want to add anything? You know, say anything or make any comments? I really appreciate the fact that you're joining us. So, if you wanted to chime in, Jedediah, you can. Feel free. So, anyway, I hope everybody has enjoyed this webinar and that you've gotten something out of it. You know, that it's helped you take a step forward in changing your mindset and the way you look at things, and just have fun. You know, Sean says this all the time too. You know, we got to have fun. You got to have fun in your life. You got to smile. You know, if you're not a person who smiles a whole lot, practice smiling in the mirror. It really feels good. You know, and besides that, it gives your face a good workout.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, I think that, you know, we'll cut this short now. And again, I thank everybody for being here and for watching and for listening in. And that's it. Thank you, Sean, for being here.
It was a pleasure. I've got to get back inside my little cockpit over here. Let me see if I can get my cockpit open. I'll show you my cockpit. That was fun coming out of space somewhere. Check me out.
All right. And Jedediah, thank you for being here as well. It would have been nice to hear from you, but maybe next time. So I thank everybody. Let's say goodbye from Sean's cockpit,
Hey.
and we'll see you next time.